And the question at hand is there a supernatural that has its hand involved in the creation of the text? And I think that I might be able to show you that there is. Can I take a shot at that?
Go for it, man.
Closer. Stretch out my arm. Okay. So first I just got to ask you a few basic questions just to kind of figure out where you're at, where I can meet you on this, all right? Okay. So these aren't intended to try and trip you up or anything like that. First question, the first book in the Bible, do you know what the name of that is?
Genesis.
Great. Real elementary here, I know, but the Bible's broken up into two major parts. There's the Old Testament and the
New Testament.
And in the Bible, there's recorded a flood. There's a man that built an ark to, avoid the flood. What is the name of that man?
Noah.
Great. All right. Fourth question, I think I'll know where to move along from here. I'm going to read a passage to you from the Bible, and you'll probably figure it out who I'm talking about right away. But for the sake of other people that might be watching, just kind of hold off and let them try and figure it out in their heads too. All right, so let me just go ahead and go with that passage, and you tell me who it is. It says, "Surely he has borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, yet we esteemed him stricken, smitten by God and afflicted. He was wounded for our transgressions, he was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace is upon him, and by his stripes we are healed. All we like sheep have gone astray. Every man has turned to his own way, and the Lord laid on him the iniquity of us all." Who does that speak of?
Jesus of Nazareth.
Okay, right on the money. Okay, and from here, I think I know where to go. All right, so just as you have a unique fingerprint that identifies you as a unique individual, I would suggest that there is a God and that he has a unique fingerprint, as it were, that he is placed on Scripture that identifies him as being God, and as it says in his word, that he is God and there is no other. And I'll reveal that unique fingerprint to you. That passage that I read to you was written by Isaiah. Do you know what that means to you and me?
I don't understand the question.
I was just seeing if something maybe, sparked. Isaiah was a prophet that wrote over 700 years before Jesus of Nazareth ever walked the earth. It was in black and white lettering. In fact, thanks be to the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Qumran caves, they have as a main exhibit in Jerusalem the book of Isaiah that predates the life of Jesus Christ. And so what I suggest to you is when you encounter a passage like that in Isaiah, and you're right on the money that it's Jesus, that you encounter something that's not just like mere men playing with words, but you actually encounter the supernatural. You see how God from ancient times declares those things that are not yet to come, and that's an instance of it right there. As the prophet Isaiah wrote about Jesus Christ before he came to this earth.
Like a true prophecy?
You were right on the money.
Okay, can I hear it again?
Sure. It says, "Surely he has borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, yet we esteemed him stricken, smitten by God and afflicted. He was wounded for our transgressions, he was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and by his stripes we are healed. All we like sheep have gone astray, every man has turned to his own way, and the Lord laid on him the iniquity of us all."
Okay, so why is it that you're telling me that you couldn't have written that? Like, why is it that you need supernatural influence to write that 700 years before someone's crucified? There's no explicit reference. Like, it's in completely general terms. Like, I could write that right now, and 700 years from now, like, someone would get executed in like death row in some third world country, and people might look back on me writing it and just go like, "Oh, he totally knew it was going to happen, but I totally just wrote some stuff that was really general that I knew would have to happen sometime in the future." It doesn't even specify it's 700 years. Like, it's like predictions are like, it's like the universe is infinite, therefore the possibilities are infinite, therefore it will happen if I predict it. Well, especially if I use such general terms. Like, there's no specificity.
If you think about it, I'm not the one that pointed that out to you, that it was Jesus. I didn't come walking up to you claiming that it is. I agree with you that it is. You spotted it, right? Now, my question is, do you know of any historical figure in history, and you got to be dead on about this one, so think about it. Do you know of any historical figure that is ever said to have taken the sins of us upon himself? Can you name one?
I don't understand the question.
Can you name any historical figure, basically, that would fit in that template? I mean, this is one prophecy here, where it talks about how he's taken the iniquity of us all upon himself. So is it...
Right. Yeah, Karl Marx.
So Karl Marx is said to have taken the sins of the world upon himself. Where does it say that?
It's like, here's the thing. Like,
Wait, you're being arbitrary and ambiguous right now, and that's not allowed in logical reasoning.
Sorry.
Okay?
I was being metaphorical. Here's what's logical about it. Let's say, like, you have some people that have some goal in mind. They're trying to create some literature that's gonna form a religion, and like, that's cool. I'm totally in support of fabricating religion for like the good of mankind. Like, that's legit. Like, tell Jews not to eat pork because it's diseased. Like, that makes sense. But so you have, like, it's obvious, like, that's been predicted, and then you read this prediction, and then you claim to take the iniquity of all, like, men and sins upon yourself. Like, oh, I realized the prediction. Like, if Nahal predicted right now that I can't even think of an example. Like, do you see what I mean?
I know. It seems like to me like you're taking the more far-fetched position now. You're actually stretching more and grasping at straws. You were right the first time. It's like a razor's edge, man. That's Jesus. And like I said, that's only
right. It's Jesus because I have, yeah, I have the cultural background to know that things like that, like talking about people taking people's sins and being whipped and killed for them. I know that refers to Jesus because I'm encultured. You know, I'm encultured in like American Christianity. I know that that's what that means. The same way, like, if you talk to me about roses, I would know, oh, that's a symbol for love because that's part of my culture too. See what I mean?
So would you now go back on your word and say it's not Jesus?
No, it definitely refers to Jesus. But that's not important.
It's important because you're saying it definitely refers to Jesus, and remember, it predates Jesus.
Right. Like, I don't see how this coincidence is completely impossible without any supernatural influence.
You didn't see it as a coincidence before you actually identified that was Jesus. Now let me go much further. What if I...
Just for the record, I did see it as a coincidence, and I explained why. I mean, it's whatever, go ahead.
It seemed to me that you had a little bit of emphasis there. You're like, that's Jesus of Nazareth even. You zeroed in on him. Now what's interesting about that...
I know exactly who the dude is because I've read the Bible. Like, I just don't see it.
What did the prophecies go further? Because that was only one of over 300 of them. Right. So the prophecies go further, and it narrows the scope down. It actually says that he'd be called a Nazarene before he was, that he'd be born in Bethlehem. So you quickly start running out of a pool of options here, because this one that we're talking about has to be born in Bethlehem. He has to be called a Nazarene. He's going to be betrayed for 30 pieces of silver. And these are certain. Yes, these are in the prophecies. I'm not that familiar with the Bible. Right. That's how I'm just trying to spark your interest on some of these things. That there's more prophecy that actually really narrows down the scope of options. That it couldn't have been a Hitler or a Gandhi or anyone else after, because they would actually have to be born in Bethlehem and called Nazarene. So what it does, it really starts to narrow down the scope. And it's in God's word, you know, I was just reading about this the other day, all right? There's an apostle named Peter, and he says that he was eyewitness of these things that happened to Jesus, that he was there for what was known as the transfiguration at the Mount. But he goes much further to say there's even a more sure word, and I'm like, what? A more sure word? What would that be? What would be better than empirical proof to see, walk, talk, touch Jesus? And he says the more sure word is of prophecy. And that got me thinking, and it got me thinking about what we're talking about right now. And then I, turn back the pages of time and see how, Jesus was written about. And he even says it, you would know the prophets spoke of me, if he'd basically been studied. So I see way more than mere men playing with words when I read these prophecies. And it really is a hair raiser when you see the exact details that it describes. It's nuts, man. He talks about how he'll have nail-pierced hands, nail-pierced feet. His bones would be at a joint, but not one of them would be broken. Certain things that are out of his control, he couldn't have even manipulated this to happen, even if he wanted to. There's just no way. So it actually seems like it takes more faith to believe. Otherwise, once you've actually looked at some of these things, I think that it would be the more radical view, to take, and the less likely, the less logical. Once you take a look, I know that you haven't surveyed all these things, so I'm not trying to corner you. So hopefully I spark some interest. Check these things out. I mean, I'm pretty excited about it.
There's more evidence that Jesus lived than Julius Caesar, yet no one doubts Caesar existed.